Hi, BookTube. I'm here today to talk about buzzwords. And these are like words that stand out to you on, say, the blurb on a cover. I'm just going to pull this book because it's right behind me. So on the back we have, the summary. Some books will have quotes from reviewers or quotes about the author's writing or something like that. And in there will be certain buzzwords that will stand out for you that make you either want to read the book or not read the book. So in this video I'm going to talk about buzzwords that drive me to read a book and buzzwords that would turn me off from reading a book. Some buzzwords that stand out to me are twisting or labyrinthine, or along the same line, books that play with language or experiment with language. I really love books that kind of take unconventional formats. So an example would be like House of Leaves. It sounds really cool like that. Even just, I believe Labyrinth by Borges sounds appealing to me, because that word's just in the title and I'm expecting it to play with language and be really neat. Another word that stands out to me is struggle, especially if it's a financial struggle. Writing about poverty, that really appeals to me. I love not reading about rich people. We'll talk about that when I talk about buzzwords I don't like. Another buzzword that appeals to me is magical lyrical writing. That's something I really, really like. I think like experimental writing comes first and then like magical lyrical writing is next. Just that getting lost in the writing. Like sometimes you can like have no plot going on or you're not paying attention to the plot because you're just so enraptured by the writing. I really like that. If a book says it takes place in India, that's one of my favorite settings. I love reading about India. So that will be, almost an immediate book I'll pick up. Another buzzword is memory, as in kind of like questioning your memory or losing your memory. I have quite a few books on my TBR that are about Alzheimer's and either dealing with it directly or dealing with a parent that has Alzheimer's. There's thrillers that deal with memory loss and stuff like that. That always kind of appeals to me. Probably because I work with a lot of people who have dementia and Alzheimer's and such like that. But I think even if I didn't, I'd still find it a fascinating thing to write about. How do you write about someone losing their memory? That's really cool. It's not cool that it happens, but it's cool that it's written about. Unconventional. If that word's on the title, that will immediately like set off the interest bulb. So if there's, illustrations or different formatting in the text, or even just if it says it's an unconventional story of, people, I like that. I don't like, conventional stories. We'll get to that again after. If it talks about food, if it has a lot of food in it, I love food. I love cooking. I love being inspired by books to try new recipes, so that's something too. If it says it's non-linear, I guess this goes back to the twisting and labyrinthine and experimental and unconventional, but I love it when stories are told backwards, backwards in circles. I think that's really cool to try and piece it all together in your head, or if it's like two timelines and stuff like that. I really enjoy that. And that has to do with memory too, like looking back at memory and then relating it to the present instead of just telling it like linearly. Yeah. I also appreciate that in history, when it's told by theme as opposed to just, beginning to end. Yeah, so that applies to nonfiction as well. And like post-colonial literature, that really appeals to me too. Reading about people who have been colonized and writing in the language of the colonizer is really interesting as well, and dealing with the impacts of colonization. Yeah, so those are the buzzwords I do like. Now, what about the buzzwords I don't like? Because I think they're as equally as important because, you pick up the book and be like, this is not for me. The immediate one that came to my mind was marriage, couple, wedding, affair. Basically anything to do with romantic relationships. I don't want to read about if that's going to be the main focus of the story. If it's kind of something that just is in the story, that's a different issue. But if it's the main focus of the story, I have zero interest in it whatsoever. Yeah. Corporate jobs. If you're a banker, investor, if you do office work, that just doesn't appeal to me. I don't like reading about rich people problems. I just, like, Crazy Rich Asians, no interest, because you're talking about like rich people. I have zero interest in their issues. I think they're superficial and ridiculous. Yeah, I'd rather read about poor people. I think they're more interesting. I apologize for the noise. I have to have the window open. It's really hot. And people are out doing stuff because it's really nice outside. Books about heists. I've just been burned by books like that in the past. Like, it seems something that would really appeal to me, but it never follows through to my liking, which is why I haven't read the Six of Crows or anything like that. Yeah, just doesn't appeal to me. Ghost stories, because I am a wee little chicken and I hate being scared. So ghost stories, definitely just, I don't want to go there. Yeah, just don't want to be scared. Travel, especially if it's like just like people just picking up and going off and not thinking about like their job or affording the plane ticket and stuff like that, or, you know, missing 2 weeks of work and being still able to afford rent. Yeah, I don't really like, you know, because that's another rich person problem, is travel. International travel. It's different if it's like an immigrant story, you know, that kind of travel is different, or travel within a country, that's also different, but like international travel, it doesn't really interest me. Inheritance or sudden riches, again, don't appeal to me again. I don't like reading about rich people. Yeah, if it's been compared to books I have no interest in or didn't like before, I think that's a very obvious one. I think that would fall on a lot of people's buzzwords, to, you know, avoid a book. I don't like fairy tale retellings, or fairy tales or folklores in general, just cause I don't know how to I didn't think this one all the way through. It's just something I just never really liked. You know, my favorite Disney movie was Lady and the Tramp, which has nothing to do with fairy tales and folklore. Yeah. And a thing that's a book if the characters are described as quirky, because I know it's just going to come off as really either pretentious or false, or, you know, superficially quirky, or, you know, I've never seen a quirky character that's been described as quirky done well. There are quirky characters that aren't purposefully designed by the author to be that way. And if they are, like, for example, Drive Your Plows Over the Bones of the Dead, like, that, I just could not stand that character. She felt so fake. Like, she wasn't a believable character to me because of the quirkiness. I was just like, I don't see this person being real. Yeah. So those are my buzzwords turn-ons and turn-offs, I guess you can call them. Let me know what buzzwords you avoid, and thank you for watching.